Maqasidic Tafsir.
Where should I begin when I'm starting at the end? Pursuing the higher aim, learning the meaning of every page. Where should I begin when I'm starting at the end?
Another addition to your Islamic education, Maqasidic Tafsir, Healing and Governance, the Transformative Path of Sabah as-Tiwal, written by Dr. Karim Abuzaid. Join Ustada Laila Nasheeba every Tuesdays and Thursdays at 9:30 p.m., streaming all major platforms, channel Sunnahfollowers.
Of Dr. Karim Abuzaid. This is the yellow book. This is the Maqasidic Tafsir, Volume 3. The Maqasidic Tafsir, Volume 3, and that's how it looks on Amazon. I think the book is $19.95 or $19.99 when you go to Amazon to purchase it. It's $19.99, and tonight we'll begin chapter 3, which covers Surat Al Baqarah, a compass for finding direction and purpose in life. Everyone can see it? Okay, so let's get started. Yeah, it's not going to be too long, sister. All right, and before we went to speak about Islamic governance, we covered how the first chapter of the Quran, Surat Al Baqarah, you know, Baqarah is such a great chapter for softening the heart and preparing the heart for the oneness of Allah. Well, after the passing of the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, the Muslim community was faced with a profound or a deep sense of despair and disorientation. They struggled to come to terms with the loss of their leader, their guide in life, their leader in life. And despite the collective grief and confusion that they were faced with, it was Abu Bakr, radiyallahu anhu. It was Abu Bakr who stepped forward to reorient the community, to re-guide the community towards faith and purpose. And how did he do that? He called them to verse 144, which is chapter Ali Imran. We spoke about chapter Ali Imran. He recited chapter Ali Imran, some words from that chapter to the believers, you know, which helped to, you know, bring them back into grips with reality. And through this powerful recollection, Abu Bakr helped the community to realign their focus towards their faith and their responsibilities, ensuring that the passing of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam did not paralyze their resolve, but instead it fortified their commitment to the principles of Islam. Hold on for a second, guys. I got to deal with, you know, by myself here. Okay. So this moment highlighted the enduring strength and the enduring unity of the Muslim nation. And of course, this strength was inspired by the wisdom of the Quran. And that's what the Quran is all about. You know, the Quran, remember the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam emphasized to us over and over and over again that the Quran, you know, is a cure for the sicknesses of the hearts, for all times, whenever we're going through any type of resolve, any type of challenges in life, you know, the Quran, the wisdom of the Quran will help us with that. So today, the Muslim world, we find ourselves grappling with a deep loss of direction and purpose. So we find ourselves in a state of disorientation that threatens the very fabric of our identity, and in many cases, the fabric of our existence. You know, this is no different than what those Muslims that came before us had to face, okay? We live in a society, we live in a world in which the lines between cultural identities and spiritual truths often blur. We live in a world where the need for clear, unwavering sources of guidance is critical. You know, this is no different than how it's always been. Well, guess what? The Quran has all of that. And in this context, the chapter Al Baqarah is right there, placed at the forefront of the Quran. You know, it emerges not just as a chapter of the Quran, but it emerges as a compass, as a GPS that guides Muslims back to our essence. It restores our independence, and it reaffirms our unique identity as we live in a world that increasingly seeks to try to combine all belief systems and practices into one. So, you know, I keep telling you guys, history, just like the world goes around and around and around, history just repeats itself. People, we just keep on doing the same things over and over. And whatever's happening today is nothing new. War is not new. People never change. You know, ignorance is bliss. You know, it's always been prevalent. You know, there's nothing that we're facing today that hasn't already been faced by the people that came before us. The Quran has the stories of the people that came before us, and you can see that people do the same silly, foolish things over and over and over again. So the chapter, Surat Al Baqarah, it serves to define who Muslims are and what we stand for amid global disorientation. It reminds us of the distinctiveness of our Muslim identity. It emphasizes the responsibility placed upon us as a just community of people. And we are tasked with the responsibility of being witnesses over all humanity. We were the last nation to come, but we will be the first to be judged on the day of judgment. And we are witnesses over all nations that came before us. So this chapter of the Quran, Surat Al Baqarah, it lays the groundwork for understanding the balance that's required to maintain our principles and our values, living in a diverse world such as we live in. Okay? And Islam's journey through time is one of deep transformation. And it's one of returning cycles where its initial clarity and purity face the inevitable challenges of human evolution and societal changes. Okay? And you'll find that it's repetitious, really. You know, society changes, technology changes, but people don't change. It's repetitious. Okay? Surat Al Baqarah, it introduces the theme of Islam's second estrangement. The first was the death of our Prophet Muhammad, sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Well, the second estrangement, this was a period marked by the fading of belief and ethical systems that are essential for us to impact our surroundings meaningfully. The narrative of Islam becoming strange as it once was testified to, and the trials it must withstand to keep its integrity and its guiding principles. We've all heard about that, and we're living to witness it. Each day, Islam becomes stranger and stranger and stranger. We see people go in and out of Islam as the Prophet said they would. We see people go in and out of Islam like an arrow every day, subhanallah. We see this. Oh, subhanallah. We see people twist the Quran around to suit their desires. We see this. We see people take the hadiths and twist the words around, play with the hadiths. We see people make things lawful that Allah made haram, and vice versa. Well, in Islam's second estrangement, wow, it was really deep. Now let's look at a moment that was captured by At-Tabari with Umar radiallahu anha. And you guys have heard about this moment. My cousin Mukhtar spoke about it. Umar radiallahu anha, when he wept upon the revelation of the following verse of the Quran, when Allah sent down the words saying, "This day I have perfected for you your religion and completed my favor upon you and have approved for you Islam," which means total submission, as your way of life. Subhanallah. Powerful words. Powerful words. Those words are so powerful that when Allah sent those words down, guys, the Jews became jealous. The Jews said, were those words sent to us, we would have made a holiday of them. Subhanallah. 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 Think about that. But when these words came down, Umar radiallahu anhu, he began to weep. And the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam asked him, he said, "Oh Umar, why are you crying?" Umar said, "I'm crying because we were in a state of increase in our religion. But now that these words have come down, it has been perfected for us. Our religion has been perfected for us. Nothing is perfected except that it will then begin to decrease." And the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, "Oh Umar, you have spoken the truth." That's how wise Umar radiallahu anhu was. Remember, the Prophet said, if there would have been a prophet after me, it would have been Umar, because he had that type of hikmah. Subhanallah. Subhanallah. So Umar feared that the completion of Islam signaled the beginning of its decline. And that's what it did, guys. And the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam affirmed this insight, acknowledging that perfection often marks the beginning of decline. Remember, guys, perfection only belongs to Allah. Perfection only belongs to Allah. With anything else, because Allah is the creator of everything else. If anything else even comes close to trying to compete with Allah, it's going to decline. And Umar recognized that. It's going to go down because nothing can come close to Allah. You guys remember that song? Y'all know I got to throw a song in there. Nothing compares to you. Nothing will ever compare to Allah. Nothing can compare to him. Nothing can ever get close to him if it ever even attempts to. It's got to go down. Umar recognized that. So Umar's reflection encapsulates the nature of Islamic history, where moments of culmination usually precede periods of estrangement and challenges. And this is my thing, guys. History. This is what one of my degrees is in. Boy, I love history. And I hope you guys can see this. This is Islamic history. This is the history of our religion, guys, taken directly from the Quran and the Sunnah. Subhanallah. Not a textbook written by some man. Subhanallah. All right. So Umar, may Allah be pleased with him, he further elaborated on this concern, forewarning that the bonds of Islam would weaken as future generations unfamiliar with the era of Jahiliyyah. What does Jahiliyyah mean? Pre-Islamic ignorance. When you read hadiths that speak about Jahiliyyah, this is an Arabic term that refers to pre-Islamic ignorance. If I say you still have Jahiliyyah in you, you have pre-Islamic ignorance in you. Now you're a Muslim, yes, but you still have some pre-Islamic traits in you. You're still, for example, those dreadlocks that you're wearing. I had a brother send me a hadith today. I'm teaching you guys aqeedah. I'm teaching you about the fitra of the heart. Instead of him learning what the fitra of the heart is, he's still trying to find an excuse to wear dreadlocks. Dreadlocks are haram. Okay? He sends me a hadith where the Prophet had long hair. Sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Long hair is not dreadlocks. Okay? Yes, the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam sometimes wore his hair long, but he combed his hair every day. He oiled his hair every day. He washed his hair on a regular basis. Locks are when you don't comb your hair. You don't wash your hair. You let your hair grow and let them lock up. You don't oil it. You don't wash it. You don't comb through it. When you read the hadith in the Fusha, the Arabic word, what does the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam say? What is the source? Sahih Bukhari. You read the Fusha. The Prophet said, whoever has hair, when he told the Bedouin that came to the mosque with his hair all over his head, he told him, do you have a comb? The man said, yes. The Prophet said, go home and comb your hair. The man went home. He came back. The Prophet said, doesn't that feel better? Doesn't that look better? He said, whoever has hair should comb through it. That's the Arabic wording. When you read the Fusha, whoever has hair should comb through it and oil it and wash it on a regular basis. The jinn, this is the hadith. What's the source? Sahih Bukhari. The jinn walk around with their hair all over their head, twisted. That's the hadith. Read the Fusha. And Allah speaks about the tree that grows out of the pits of hell in the Quran, named the tree of Zakum, whose fruits are like the head of the jinn. You brothers and sisters have to learn these hadiths. And you can't teach yourself. I didn't teach myself. I learned from bona fide, qualified scholars of hadith who speak Fusha, who are real scholars of this ulama, who are not man-made, self-appointed people who call themselves sheikh. Okay? Like the prophet said, you have to sit in the company of the people of knowledge and ask the people of knowledge to learn. That's the problem with this nation. Umar recognized that. He knew that it would go downhill. Islam would become strange. The people would start twisting things around. They would start teaching themselves and like we have today. So we got Muslim men and women walking around with their hair looking like the tree of Zakum. You're walking around with your hair in knots, like the prophet told that Bedouin man, with your hair all over your head like the jinn. Looking like the fruit, as he told him, the fruit of the tree of Zakum. Probably never heard that hadith, have you? Or that verse of the Quran. Okay? And you're going to ask me, still try to fight to be like the kafir. Allah hates ugliness. Why do you want to be ugly? Allah hates nastiness. Why do you want to be nasty? Culture. Your culture is Islam. We're supposed to do el-wala wal-bara. Umar, radiyallahu anha, he knew that the people would deviate away from el-wala wal-bara, that our allegiance would not be to Islam, that our allegiance would be to culture, based on tribalism, based on racism. Your allegiance is to African American culture, when your allegiance should be to Islamic culture. Islamic culture is about cleanliness. It's about being the opposite of the jinn. The prophet said, do the opposite of the jinn. Do the opposite of the unbelievers. Don't imitate the jinn. Don't imitate the unbelievers. Allah loves beauty, cleanliness. Our prophet didn't walk around in dreadlocks. Yeah, he had braids. Braids are lawful. Sometimes he wore his hair long, sometimes he wore it short. But you would never find a hadith with him looking like a Rastafarian. That ain't none of the companions look like a Rastafarian. That don't happen. Not in Islam. That's your culture, but it ain't ours. Anyone who imitates a people is one of them. So are you one of us or one of them? Ask yourselves that, brothers and sisters. So if Umar, he understood that. So this disconnect from Islam's transformative foundation, its triumph over ignorance through enlightenment, it suggests a gradual detachment from its core principles, leading to estrangement within the faith itself. Umar's insight serves as a timeless reminder, and timeless because you can see how it relates to today. I use the locks as an example. It serves as a timeless reminder to preserve the essence of Islam and remain vigilant against complacency or deviation. Okay? We have to return to the guidance of the Quran. That was the method used by the early generation of Muslims to resolve all issues, all problems, all matters in life. And why? Because the Quran distinguishes between truth and falsehood. That's what the fitra is searching. Remember, every human being comes in this world, and the fitra, what is the fitra searching for? The fitra is not searching to worship. The fitra is searching for the truth. It's trying to find its way back to where it came from. It's trying to find its way back to the truth and submittance to Allah. Okay? The Quran distinguishes between truth and falsehood. The Quran distinguishes between good and evil. Listen to what Allah says in the interpretation of the meaning. And thus do we detail the verses, and thus the way of the criminals will become evident. You Muslim women, you Muslim men who wear dreadlocks or any type of lock, I'm sorry, you're a criminal. Your culture is that of a criminal. Call me racist, or call me whatever name you want to. I'm a Muslim. My culture is Islam. Sorry. I do el-bara against anything that comes between me and my Lord and my culture, which is Islam. Total submission, because that's what the fitra is in search of. Total submission to Allah's will. It's not in search of anything but the truth and total submission to Allah's will. That's why you're not reverts. You will never be a revert, because you will never revert to what you were before you came in this world, because nothing in this world will ever resemble anything in the hereafter, even if it has the same name. You will never be a revert to what you were before Allah had your soul blown into your mother's womb. Before your soul was put in your mother's womb, your soul was kept wherever Allah keeps the soul. And you will never revert back to that, because the soul knew what its purpose was. That soul was not criminal. That soul was good. Okay? So you are not a revert. Stop calling yourselves revert. That's not what fitra means. Fitra does not mean revert. El fitra learned fusha from this American English speaking woman means searching for the truth and submittance to the will of Allah. Understand it, converts? You're a convert, not a revert. You will never, ever, ever be a revert until you enter into paradise. Ask a real scholar, and they'll say Laila Nasheeba's telling you the truth. Finally, somebody said it right. Well, here she is. And I've been preaching this for 50 years, but you won't listen to me, because I'm just a girl in the world, and y'all just won't let me speak. I'm crazy because I'm a female, and because I speak the way Allah said speak, with the loud voice publicly. I ain't like this in the house. My grandkids, I'm fun with them. Okay? So this verse here highlights the ongoing need to define the path of righteousness amidst the emergence of deviance and misunderstanding. Just as clarity was brought to the early Muslims in their time, the same process of detailing signs and evidence, thank you, Sheikh Morsi, remains pertinent, he's listening, as Islam faces new forms of estrangement and misinterpretation. We have to understand, guys, Islam is anchored in the belief that right and wrong are determined by Allah's guidance, not man's, and not man's interpretation, and not society's interpretation. Allah's guidance is stable. Allah's guidance is unchanging. Allah's guidance is timeless and ethical. Man's is not. Man's is filled with all kinds of flaws. Okay? So that's the first estrangement. The second estrangement of Islam has seen a growing inclination towards subjective morality. Oh God, this is a big one. This perspective posits that moral judgments vary from one individual to another based on personal experiences, cultural backgrounds, and society's influences. This type of view allows for a more fluid interpretation of ethics, where the boundaries of right and wrong are more permeable and adaptable to the context and times. While this approach can offer flexibility and a degree of responsiveness to the complexities of modern life, it also poses significant challenges to maintaining a cohesive and a consistent ethical framework within the Muslim community. This is a big problem, guys. Why? Because this shift not only reflects the broader societal trends towards relativism and individualism, but it also signifies a critical juncture in the Muslim community's engagement with ethical questions, which is what we see with these brothers and sisters with their PhDs and, you know, issuing Islamic verdicts. And I just saw that one that they put out the other day about birthdays, and it's pathetic. The move away from objective morality, it risks undermining the clarity and the coherence of Islamic ethical teachings. And this is what we're having. What they're doing is they're trying to tweak. Let me see if I can imitate what they say. They call themselves tweaking Allah's laws, okay? Some of Allah's laws with issues of Aqidah, we can't tweak. But other laws of Allah, we can tweak. I saw the fatwa that they put out about Muslim dress. Oh yeah, I was shocked when the sisters, some of my new shahadas, sent me a fatwa that was put out by this, I don't want to even mention their name, but they're saying that it's okay for Muslim women to wear belts. Can y'all believe that? Check it out, Mina. They saying it's okay for the Muslim women to be more, you know, conservative. You know, she can wear a belt around her abaya. Her kimar doesn't have to come down and cover her breasts because she's a businesswoman. So since she's on a board of directors at her job and she's a businesswoman, she doesn't have to wear loose fitting pants. Her pants can be kind of tight. She can put a belt around her waist. She doesn't have to cover her breast, just long as her head is covered. She can be resembling the Kafir women somewhat. Oh my God, where does Allah say that we can bend the rules like that? Where does Allah say that we can bend the rules based on our personal experiences, our societal influences, and things like that. This is a big problem. This is what Umar meant. Islam will become strange. This is what the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam meant. We will revert back. Islam will revert back. We will revert back to how we used to be before Islam, to the point where women ain't going to be covering up at all in a minute. Okay? I saw those fatwas that you knew Shahada sent me, that this last conference they had just put out, hot off the press. I saw them, hot off the press. What kind of, be careful. I want all new Shahadas to understand something. No one, I repeat, no one can issue an Islamic verdict over Allah or over his prophet, sallallahu alaihi wasallam. No one has the authority to make anything lawful or unlawful except Allah. Y'all understand that? So just because these brothers had a conference recently and they put out a fatwa saying that you sisters don't have to cover up the way Laila Nasheeba said, the Wahhabi said, that's a lie. Y'all better listen to the Wahhabi. That Wahhabi ain't steering you wrong. Y'all understand that? You put a belt on if you want to. You wear some tight leg, straight leg pants if you want to. You better hope you don't fall and bust your head open and end up in the grave. Because we'll see what those angels of death say to you. Who was right? Me, the Wahhabi, or those brothers on that fatwa committee here in America? Okay? Be careful of that. So, the second estrangement of Islam represents a critical need for Muslims to engage in introspection and dialogue and return to guided knowledge. You remember, knowledge is based on two sources, the Quran and the authentic hadith, not man's opinion. And as far as that birthday stuff, let me tell you how that's worship. Birthday is an act of worship. We don't worship anyone but Allah. I'm going to tell you how they come to that decision about birthday. Y'all want to hear it? The brothers that issue the fatwa telling you that it's okay for you to celebrate your birthday, and they're going to get mad when I say it, but I don't care. I'm going to say it because I don't fear nobody but Allah. I want y'all to look at who they married to. I want you sisters to look at the brothers who gave you that answer. Look at their wives. Their wives are lily white converts. They're not married to Arabic women. They're not married to women who were born Muslim and come from Muslim countries that they come from. These are men who've come to America from Arabic countries. Many of them were escaping persecution. I'm going to keep it real. Okay? They married these lily converts, and I say lily converts who used to be Christians. Pillow talk. Pillow talk is a powerful weapon that women can use, and you are all sisters. We women know the power of pillow talk. When a man has been away from his country for over 30, 40 years, you can pillow talk a man into starting a war if you want to. How many wars were started because of pillow talk? So it's easy for me to say, well, I'm not really worshiping my mother. My mother is 95 years old. And what's wrong with me going over to my mother's house to celebrate her birthday? She's 95. Come on. That's not worship. But if you look it up in Webster's dictionary, even Webster's dictionary will tell you that it's an act of worship because I was born. I am deserving of a cake. Because I was born, I am deserving of being eulogized. You look up the meaning of the word eulogize. Eulogize means to put up on a level higher than what's it's deserving. Islam is against that. That's shirk. That's shirk el akbar. So the brothers that issue that fatwa telling you that it's okay for you to worship somebody, look who they married to. It came from their lily convert wives. I'm sorry. Pillow talk is powerful, especially when you got a lily wife doing the pillow talk. Hello. No one has the power to make something lawful other than Allah. Before the Prophet Muhammad died, what was his last words? One of the last statements he made before he died was, do not do to me what they did to my brother Jesus. That's your dalil. What's the source? Bukhari and Muslim. So that's what I say to the birthday. Okay? So again, when it comes to people sitting around, trying to change this religion based on culture, and secular, what's going on in society. This is when you sit down and you weigh society's rules, society's cultural things against the Quran and against the Sunnah, as we talked about in our 6:30 class. And again, if it stands in the way of what Allah says, what the Prophet says, you distance yourself from it. That's where al-wala wal-bara comes in. Does everybody understand that? So